would the biggest impact then be cell phones and electronic equipment, or like, is it toner? What would have the biggest impact?
Yeah, obviously cell phones, laptops, any small electronic devices. We still work with PDAs, but those kind of devices, smartphones specifically. We're a big purchaser of electronic goods as a city, and certainly that's going to set a trend to help others people understand this issue and try to get other cities to get on board in that process. So toner, no, but it's not just electronics. Obviously, we're working with Boeing and other major corporations that use electronics in their aircraft. So it's not just electronics, but that's certainly something that most people connect with because it's something we on the daily use every day.
Go ahead.
Did you make a specific request to Commissioner Fritz to ask council to pass a resolution making this a conflict-free zone?
We absolutely did.
And her response was to send you here?
That's exactly true. So we've had 2 conversations with her and her staff, and we're continuing to work with her staff. Before the election and after the election, we've had these conversations. Again, her suggestion was that we come to this commission, raise awareness and education, which we certainly want to do as well, and get a constituency to basically help make passage easier, I suppose is the way to put it. And that's our goal. So,
have you estimated the fiscal impact of adopting this following the
it's primarily going to be a suggestion because, as I said, there are no conflict-free goods available to purchase. Now, certain companies have grades based on how far along they've come towards creating those conflict-free goods. And so there's a grading system already in place that can be used. So we can give preference to company A over company B when making these bids. Essentially, we can put it into the rubric as to how we go about the process, the purchasing process. We're not suggesting it's a complete veto power. This is a suggestion, and it's also just to make sure we're alerting companies that do sell their products to cities like the city of Portland. This is something we value. So fiscal impact, this is not a, again, we're required to do this, and that means if you're buying an inferior product in the process, that's not our goal. So again, that's something that can be worked out by the city through the resolution process, and that's exactly how the market works.
Kathy in the back, did you had your hand
Well,
up?
I just wondered if you wanted to mention Intel specifically or not.
Oh, that's a very good point. We have a great working relationship with Intel as a coalition, and there's about 20 different organizations that are part of our coalition. And we work with Intel primarily because they have committed to taking their chip and making it conflict-free by the end of this year, which is a huge, huge step. And again, we want to honor a corporation that's based in the Pacific Northwest, and Oregon specifically, for that commitment. And they have been leaders, industry leaders, setting the standard about this idea of transparency about where these minerals are coming from. And they're showing the way for other corporations who 2 years ago said this is absolutely impossible to know. We'll never know where these minerals are coming from. They have shown you're wrong, that you actually can know this, can actually find this out. It takes work, it takes effort, no question in that, but they have set the pace. And I think that's great. We want to promote industry leadership doing that. We also, as city leaders and as community members, need to also, as purchasers of these goods, put pressure on companies to do the right thing beyond just income. So yeah.
Have you found some support with Free Geek at the recycling end or a lot of the programmers?
You're on the right track, and that's another thing we've been working on in the last few months is to try and use our commitment to recycling as a way of reducing the amount of actual minerals we're using as a whole, which will also reduce the demand for those minerals, which is driving the conflict. So we're tracking this from both sides, both in trying to reduce the purchasing of conflict-free minerals, because we don't know these minerals are coming from specifically, and B, reduce the use as a whole. And that's somewhat being done by the city already. So city purchasing has a very extensive recycling program. So I'm not really worried the city isn't recycling their electronics. They are. But primarily trying to get the city of Portland citizens to understand this issue so that they find ways that they can recycle their goods. I teach high school, and I asked my students the other week, how many of you have an extra cell phone in your drawer? The old one, the old iPhone 4, that's really old now. And they'll have their hand up. Now they have 2 phones, 3 phones. I'll get the 14 phones before the last hand goes down. Now, why?